and he was asking about doing seminars. I was not considering doing a seminar because I don't consider myself one of the better fishermen. This club has phenomenal fishermen in it. I'm a middle of the road fisherman in this club. But the more I thought about it, most of the people in this club are in the middle of the road. So I thought maybe a few of the things that I picked up might be helpful for guys who, like me, typically are in the middle of the road. So the things I'm going to talk about, there's probably guys in here who are going to shake their head and say, that's not right, that's not how you should do it. This is just the things that I did. They worked out for me. It may not be what you should do to get to the top level of fishing, but I'm going to tell you what I did. One of the big things, you talked about the mentorship program. I wasn't officially in the mentorship program, but I have a crew of guys that we all stay together at most of the places, and a couple guys that aren't necessarily staying with us that I can't really consider my mentors. I don't have one. I've probably got 5 or 6, or really most of the people in this club I've taken some things from, but
I teach them everything after.
I highly recommend, whether you're officially in the mentor program or you just network with people, that the knowledge that's in this room is phenomenal. You're not going to find a collection of better fishermen at this level than you are in this room. So get to know people. I think this is my 11th year in the club. I don't recommend in your first approach to somebody to start asking a bunch of pointed, specific questions about where they fish or exactly what they're using. But you can, as you get closer with people, they're going to be a lot more comfortable with you and what you're trying to get out of them. But another thing that I found extremely useful is coming to the meetings and listening to the seminars. Whether it was Tom Haley talking about bait fish and weeds, or Jim Bianchi usually does when he goes through seasonal patterns on the lakes we're going to fish. To more advanced guys, it's probably simple stuff. To me, I took notes in my phone. I've got the last 3 years that Jim Bianchi's done the seasonal patterns things, and I go back to it all the time because it just gives me a general idea of what to look on each lake, where I should be looking, where the fish should be seasonally, because that's something that I wasn't really good at doing. So I recommend not only coming to it and listening, but ask questions after they're done on the side, because I don't think there's a guy in this club that I've asked a question, I mean, short of what are you using or something specific, but most guys, whether it's Livingston or anyone else, will give you any information you want, and they'll talk your ear off. The more you talk, the more they spill their guts. Sometimes you got to weed your way through what they're saying, because, you know, the other thing I did a lot of last year was more research type stuff. The top 7 reports. Again, you got to weed your way through it. Some guys are a little more specific on what they say. Some guys, the longer you're in a club, you kind of get a feel for the guys who tell you what they really did and guys who are telling you horse shit. But there's good information in that, whether it's the current years or the top 7 reports in the old newsletters. If you go back and look at that stuff, it's pretty accurate. We fish pretty much the same lakes every year. A lot of them are the same times. You can get good information out of that. And not only our club, if you looking at other clubs or other, what is the Fed or a bigger organization, if they're fishing tournaments, you can get a lot of good information about either how big the stringers were. Sometimes they'll have information about what they were using. I found it useful. I think observing your competitors. Let me first say, when I say observe them, I don't mean driving around, see where they're fishing and going fishing where they're fishing. But if you're fishing an area, and eventually you're going to have guys around you. I've been in areas and Dave will come in. I wonder why he's fishing where I am, because it's probably not a good spot. But one thing I'll do is I'll watch Dave fish. I'll stand there with my rod in my hand, but I'm staring at him fishing. I did the same thing with TJ on a lake, because I saw him throwing an A-rig, which I'm not good at throwing. So he probably doesn't know or doesn't know, but I watched the shit out of him. I got my A-rig behind him. He casts, I cast. I watched how long he wastes the reel, I reel. So, I mean, he didn't know he was giving me mentorship, but I was learning what I could of him. He was still catching 3 to 1 to what I was doing. But
The shadow?
watch the guys around you. He may be fishing a totally different technique than I'm fishing in there, and I'm trying to figure out why he's doing something different than I am. You know, a lot of these guys will tell you if they come up and talk to them, if they see you. But you can learn a lot by watching your competitors. So if you're a non-boater, you got a guy with you all day. That's pretty much a learning opportunity to watch what they're doing. The group of guys I'm with, we go out socially a lot and everything. Our conversations, our wives are usually with us, and what are we talking about? We're talking about fishing. The wives are bored to death. We're just constantly talking about fishing. I think it's helped my fishing, because you know, whether I'm out with Tom Haley, who's an encyclopedia of all kinds of endless knowledge of stuff that some helps, some is above my head, or Manly, you can learn about drinking, there's all kinds of things. Studying maps, that's something I still need to work at, but I have learned, not only do I use regular maps, whether it's Lowrance maps or something like that, but I go on Google Maps. Before a tournament, really I do it over the winter too because I'm bored, and try and find areas I want to practice in. It kind of goes toward pre-fishing, which is where I think I made my biggest improvement. It wasn't like I just came up with these pre-fishing ideas. They came from coming to these meetings and listening, whether it was Dave talking about pre-fishing or Tom or anyone else. But I mean, I'm surprised Tom still talks to me because I just ask him a million questions all the time. But trying to pinpoint a pattern, it's still an area I think I have a lot of growth opportunity, but I think I definitely got better than I used to be at it. By trying to identify, before I used to think pre-fishing was find fish, and if you catch fish, you know you're in a spot that fish are. I think I've actually found out more information by not catching fish in a certain area than I do necessarily by catching them. But sometimes if I catch them in an area, I get too tied into that spot, and you go there in a tournament, they're not there. I try to figure out what the bottom composition is if I am catching them, what the weeds are, if I'm catching them on the outside of the weeds, the inside, the depth. They're basic things, but I find them important. And the other thing with pre-fishing I did was I tried to narrow down where I'm going to fish. Being in the club 11 years, when I first started, I didn't have any areas. If I caught a fish here or there, I only fished a few areas. Now I've fished long enough where I've caught fish all over most of these lakes. And what I found in the previous couple of years is I'll jump all over. If I don't catch something, boom, I'm off to another spot, I'm off to another spot. This year I really narrowed down. I tried to get to like three areas in the lake for the whole day on the tournament day. For me that helped because I felt like if I had confidence in an area, I would focus in the area, stay in the area. I kind of learned that from my brother because he would, every tournament he'd beat me by a couple pounds, and he doesn't move. He's lazy, and he'll just sit in one spot. But because of his laziness, I kind of learned that, you know, he may be lazy while he's staying there, but by him staying there working that area, he was out catching me. And I think it pushed me to try and fish an area harder that I knew I had fish in it instead of jumping around. Pat Carr is another guy, a friend of mine, but I mean, he did phenomenal the last few years when he was fishing. And I asked him point blank a few questions, and I won't go into specifics of his answers because I don't know what he wants to share or not. But one thing I don't think he would mind me sharing is, you know, I said, what's one of the biggest things you did, or what do you recommend? And I definitely did it this past year. He said, fish your strengths. He said, regardless of what dock talk is, if they're catching them on the drop shot, they're catching them on this, they're catching them on that, fish your strengths. He goes, there's fish in the whole lake, they're going to be biting somewhere on the style you like to fish most likely. And what I found out of that, and whether he meant this when he said it, I found if I am fishing what I consider my strengths or what I like to do, I'm more focused while I'm doing it. So if I like to flip or I like to throw top water or something like that, if Tom Haley tells me, hey, you know, they're a jerk bait, I hate throwing a jerk bait. I'm not going to throw a jerk bait because I hate doing it, I'm not going to have confidence doing it, and I'm not going to stick with it. So for me, trying to find fish, fishing the way I like, helped. I mean, you can't always do that. Obviously, if you're fishing a clear lake, you're not going to be flipping for a smallmouth. I'm not. But anyway, I tried to focus on the styles that I like and staying focused. Another thing that I changed a lot was trying to not be distracted by looking here or looking at other stuff going on. My line's in the water, so I figure I'm fishing. But if you're not focused on your line and ready to pick up the bite, you're not going to get it. I think I knew I had a lot more bites this year and caught a lot more fish because I was a lot more focused the whole day. And along with the whole day, I fished the whole day. In the past, you know, I would take a 20-minute break to eat a sandwich or whatever because I'm like, yeah, whatever. At the end of the day, I'd pull off 15, 20 minutes early because I wanted to beat the crowd going in. One thing I realized by fishing the whole day, it makes one fish difference. If you look at the standings at the end of the year, 2 or 3 pounds, I mean, Ty can tell you, I won a lot of money on a lot less than 2 or 3 pounds over the whole year. You know, that could be one fish you caught in the last 10 minutes that you wanted to pull out early because you wanted to beat the crowd. It makes a huge difference in your standings for anybody.
Or because you want to go to clam bake.
Right.
Need some soup.
So the point is that in our club, if you're worried about your angle to your standings, the small, one fish can make a big difference in your standings, like 3 or 4 places possibly. Another thing I learned about pre-fishing, I think Dave talked about this in one of his, was pre-fishing for the conditions that are going to be in a tournament. In the past, I would pre-fish I don't like fishing in the wind. I would find areas not in the wind necessarily on pre-fish day, thinking I'll find a pattern on whether in the weeds or the rocks or shallow or deep, and then come tournament day, the wind would blow, and I wouldn't want to be in that area where they are, so I'd go somewhere else and I wouldn't catch anything all day. So looking at the forecast for the wind for me was big, trying to see where the wind was going to be on a tournament day, and even if I wanted to stay out of the wind, try and find some productive areas that were going to be out of the wind tournament day, not necessarily in practice day. Again, the better fishermen will say, look, you find the fish in the wind, you fish in the wind, but I'm a fair weather fisherman, so it is what it is. Another difference, this is an area I can improve, but I don't really have the opportunity. There's no substitute for time on the water. I have a 10-year-old, a wife, a lot of other responsibilities, so I can't be on. Some of the guys spend a ton of time on the water. I think it's great for them. I can't do it, and I think that's one big reason why some guys are a lot better, because of how much time they can put on the water. If you can, it's great, but no matter how much time you got on the water, you need to be focused while you're on the water. Pre-fishing this year, I spent a lot more time. I didn't spend more days, but I spent more time on the water. Like the night, the weight tournaments, usually I'm there 2 days ahead to pre-fish. Typically I'd fish 8 hours or so on the first day. Second day I'd fish till maybe 11, because I felt like I found fish and then I'd be done. This past year I didn't do that. I fished 8 to 10 hours both days. An example, sodas, it didn't really work out for me, but the weekend before it, my wife and I won the couples tournament. We found fish, we won the couples tournament, so I was confident. I pre-fished before the tournament. I was out there over 12 hours pre-fishing. Didn't really find a lot of fish pre-fishing. Ended up not having a great tournament, but the point is, even though I felt confident from the week before winning the tournament, I spent 12 hours out there pre-fishing all over trying to find fish, because I wanted to make sure I had fish. It didn't work out, but generally, for me, I used to drop shot a ton. I still drop shot, but I didn't drop shot nearly as much this past year. I felt like I targeted bigger fish instead of going for limits. When you're a middle of the road guy, you want to catch a limit every tournament. When you're a top guy, you want to catch, it kind of automatically happens, but I focused on catching a limit and then upgrading. This past year, I kind of did different. I used bigger baits. I threw top water a lot more. I flipped bigger baits. When I did drop shot, I drop shot some bigger baits. There's plenty of guys here that drop shot tiny baits to catch big fish, but for me, it seemed like when I was using these bigger baits and sticking with them longer, I threw top water a lot longer into the day, sometimes the whole day. To me, it made a big difference with the size of the fish I caught. When I was drop shot and stuff, I used lighter line this year. I was using a heavier line because I was worried about breaking fish off. Somebody told me that you're not going to break off fish you never catch. So I did go to lighter line drop shot, and I think I got more bites that way, and I didn't break fish off. Another tip I got when I was out fun fishing, it was with Tom Haley. I'd cast, and my reel would sound like it was a $10 reel, even though it wasn't. And he said, "When's the last time you cleaned the reels?" And I'm like, "What do you mean clean the reels?" I think I had TJ do them like 6 years ago. Anyway, I had another guy, Tim Daniels, worked with me. We cleaned all my reels, and the casting distance, I think, made a huge difference this year. And Tom actually predicted, he goes, "You're going to catch more fish just because your reels are working." We fish a lot of clear water for smallmouth. I strongly believe you got to get your lure way away from the boat in that clear water, and I think it made a big difference this year. So maintaining your equipment, making sure you can cast out away from the boat, for me, I think made a big difference. One last one I got, and it kind of goes together. It's one, staying positive on the water. I would get frustrated out there if I'm not catching them. I would get frustrated if I'm wondering why other guys catch them all the time, but just staying positive out there and realizing you're out there to have a good time. The last note I got here is have fun. For me and the group of guys I'm with, as much as I love fishing, I have more fun off the water than I do on the water. I recommend you find a group of guys you like to hang around with, they have similar things, stay at the hotels together, talk about fishing. Once you're in a group of guys that are comfortable with you, they're not going to give you specifics of exactly what they're doing, but guys are going to share information. you're gonna go out to dinner, you're gonna have fun. To me, that's at the club level, I think that's your biggest asset, is to go out and have fun and do that. The tournament stuff, especially if you're new, it's very easy to get frustrated quickly. It seems simple when you see other guys come in with big bags, and from the back of the boat, it's not easy. It's not easy from the front of the boat either. You'll learn if you get your own boat, but just have fun and realize you're out there to have a good time. Even the guys who are winning aren't probably making any money as far as what they spent in pre-fishing and everything else, so it's not a money-making opportunity. If your goal is to go fish higher at some point, there's nothing wrong with that. You can learn a ton at this level, but don't have the expectation you're gonna make enough money to to actually make money. Have fun with it. It's basically what I got on here. I mean, if anybody's got questions, I didn't hit anything specific, but so if you've got a question, I'll answer a question. But
how did you fish the day after sodas? After the Sunday after Saturday?
Wasn't very focused.
Why was that?
Question is, how'd you do, Todd?
So Sodas is usually a fairly comfortable lake for me to fish, although I don't usually go out in the lake because I'm a fair weather guy and I don't have a big boat and I don't like dealing with it. But so the Saturday night we went out in the town. So this way you got to be a little careful about going with your buddies because sometimes they corrupted me because normally I'm straight laced and in bed early. But so be careful who you hang around with late. But yeah, I was up late and. Unlike my brother, I actually did fish. I wasn't not able to go, but I was not very focused. I did a lot of sweating.
Didn't run over a cooler, that's okay.
Yeah.
What size line did you bring to the drop shot?
I went down to 6 on my leader. I was throwing more like 12 before, which is it's heavy, but I went to a lot higher quality line, and I didn't find myself breaking off. One thing I had a good year for me. I was very happy with it. I lost a lot of big fish this year. I caught a lot of big fish for me, and I lost fish that, and I'm not telling fish stories. On Thousand Islands, I lost fish to win 4 or 5 times at the boat. I think that was partially my own fault, babying it because I had light line and I was worried about breaking off. I never broke a fish off. I kept losing them jumping at the boat instead of horsing them into the net and helping my non-boater. I lost fish on top water. I couldn't figure out exactly why I was losing them. Mark Harold is my secret top water mentor. If you want to know about top water, if you can track him down, he's phenomenal. But figured out that I had the wrong rod. My rod was way too stiff. I was straightening some hooks, and I lost a lot of big fish. Not a lot. I lost several big fish on top water. So with a few changes that I've learned from talking to guys, I hope to improve that this year. But yeah, it could have been even better than it was. But
Did you change line, Chris?
did I change line on top water?
No, did you just change line, like drop it down to 6 pound?
I did. I went to Tom, what's it called? What's the
Seeger?
Seeger, yeah, just one of the more expensive.
What do you mean by higher quality line?
When it's more expensive, but yeah, I was using Seeger Tattoo. It's fluorocarbon, 6 pound. But in the past, I wouldn't spend the money on it. Who am I kidding? Now I won't spend the money on it, but if you got connections, you can get a half price. But I didn't think it would make a big a difference, but I think it made a difference, and I was confident. When I wasn't breaking it, I felt more confident. I think you're doing a line thing tonight, so you can probably see some difference.
So you mentioned you had success at the couples tournament, and then we have the tournament, the actual club tournament. Can you talk about, you don't have to go into specifics, but talk about some of the things that you did, between one or the other, or that changed, or things that you tried to change?
Well, we had the 5 mile-an-hour speed limit on Sodas. Sodas I fished a lot. I have several areas I'm confident with. In the couples tournament, I fished an area, and I think I caught a couple of decent ones. My wife caught like a 4.5. We caught our whole bag in one area. Now, I'm sitting there, she wants to win the couples tournament. I'm like, geez, I got a tournament next week. I really don't want to stick any more fish, but We sat there most of the day.
Oh, you're walking on the walk.
Okay,
Ronnie.
We'll stay.
So, we caught them. We did move eventually, but I didn't feel like we stuck all the fish. They didn't stop biting, so I felt good about that area. So then while I was there fishing a couples tournament, I saw another one of our club members fishing right in that area too. He was practicing for our tournament. So I was discreetly trying not to show too much of what we were catching, but when we weighed in,
I saw.
I think Kevin Keller might have saw. So I had to make it. Then anyway, I practiced the day before the regular tournament. I really didn't want to fish the area we caught them because I didn't want to stick too many fish. So I did go over there. I tried to shake a few off or whatever. I got some bites, but I never really set the hook on anything in that area. I fished for 12 hours. I fished the whole day at 5 miles an hour, which is one reason why I took the whole day. Never really got a good bite going. I had a couple areas. Well, one was all the way in, a couple were in the north, and the other ones were all the way in the south. So on the first day I fished the south area, which is close to where I fished in the couples tournament. I can't remember who my non-boater was, but I'm like, we're gonna kill him. We went an hour and a half. My non-boater's getting nervous. I'm like, no, they're here. We're gonna work this over. I think 2.5 hours in, Kevin caught a nice one a little farther down. I think I had one fish or something. Now in the back of my head, I'm like, well, I got fish on the north end, but if I'm gonna move down there, it's gonna kill my whole day. I hemmed and hawed. We ended up working our way down. It took too long to get down there because I stopped at a few spots and it just never materialized. By day 2, after day 1, I realized that the other spot I was going to fish, on Saturday the guy won the tournament in the area that I was going to go to, that we usually fish together. So I decided to go the other way, although I was a little under the weather from Saturday night's activities. That didn't pay off. I went to another area, pre-fished. There was a bunch of guys fishing in that area. Kind of got pushed out of there, which is what it is. They were there apparently the day before as well. And it just didn't work out. I was just not really, I wasn't mentally able to focus. So anyway, yeah, why the fish weren't exactly in the area, I think they scattered a little bit. Kevin caught a nice one a little farther down. If I were by myself, it's one of those times when sometimes you need to just fish and let the non-boater know what you're doing, but sometimes they get excited and are get nervous quicker than you do because they don't have the confidence that you caught the fish there the week before. I think if I would have stayed down there, I probably could have worked out 5 fish, but my non-boater might not have got any. I am not good with my electronics, admittedly. As far as deep water fishing, I use my electronics more for shallow water as far as finding weed lines and things like that. That's an area that I could improve a lot. I mean, I envy guys like TJ and Casey and Chris and those guys who can go out and fish Jim, the smallmouth, and they can find it. I think there's one portion of their electronics might be a little better. A bigger portion is they know how to use them better. They have them set up better. I bought them, never really, because I had time on a water factor, I don't have a bunch of time where I just go out and fun fish and go play with my electronics. When I'm out fishing, it's usually pre-fishing for a tournament, and I feel like I'm wasting time trying to learn that. So I'm just admittedly saying, no, I'm not good at it. I wish I was better, but I haven't put the time in to get better.
Thank you very much.